All right, so House Party. We are finally at the end of this review series. If you don't know, I reviewed all the House Party movies and lead up to this remake that nobody gives a shit about. Nobody wanted to watch this movie. This movie, if you don't know, was a movie that was supposed to come out on HBO Max, then got delayed and was going to be released digitally only. Then that didn't happen, and it was decided it was going to go to theaters, but then they delayed that theatrical release 3 times, only for us now to get it in January. And when I went to go look up reviews for these movies, because I'm just curious what people think of it, couldn't find any until the day this movie came out. Now, if you don't know, that's usually a sign that the movie's not good. And guess what? The reviews weren't great. This movie is sitting at a 25% of Rotten Tomatoes, which is absurd. This movie doesn't deserve that kind of bullshit. This is actually a pretty standard mediocre comedy movie. It's not great. It's not awful. It's just mediocre. Because when I watched this movie, there were moments. Kid Icarus's character was really funny in this movie. Had a lot of great moments and lines. Cool. There was some fun cameos that made me laugh. There was a lot of them that were really in your face and very bad, like Snoop Dogg's cameo and things like that. But for the most part, most of them were fine, and I enjoyed this movie fine enough. I had a couple laughs. I think the audience was very bored though, and that just shows you what's wrong with this movie. Because there are things I definitely appreciate about this movie, which is that it tried to look and feel like a 90s movie, the way the old New Line logo came up like it was a 90s movie. If you look at the poster for this movie, it looks kind of like an older comedy movie like Animal House, or maybe a comedy movie from the 90s that was trying to be a throwback to a different kind of comedy movie. So it very much feels like a 90s movie, has that kind of energy to it. That's fun. But like the worst part about this movie is that it's about having a house party. And that's the worst part of the movie. Most of the jokes that were kind of funny were in the first couple acts of the movie. Once we start getting in this house party, it just gets less and less funny. And just that's the energy of this movie. And even then, the jokes weren't funny enough to last this whole movie. So most of this movie, the audience and me were just bored. I don't think anyone liked this movie in that theater. It was really sad, actually. They were just bored watching this comedy movie. That's interesting because like I was watching the audience. I'm like, well, I was looking at them. I'm like, maybe they're just really into the movie. But I'm like, wait a minute, this is fucking comedy movie. Like they should be laughing, not just sitting there, kind of like. There were a couple jokes in the movie that made me laugh, and I liked the attention to detail to make this feel like a '90s movie because it's clear that this was made with some love and passion behind it. It just didn't work or come together, unfortunately. And I don't think this like Butcher's a classic. I don't think House Party is a classic. It's a fun movie. I enjoyed it. I liked the first two. And honestly, if you were to watch this on streaming, it wouldn't be a bad watch. It's a decent watch. It's a couple good laughs, couple good moments. Nothing overly great. And yeah, this really should have just been a streaming movie. It very much felt like that. I don't really know why they pushed for this to get a theatrical release. I know David Zaslav, the new CEO of Warner Brothers, hates streaming original movies because they're not really profitable, from what he says, which is absurd. But okay, but like this is one that, but he wasn't in charge of Warner Brothers when this movie was supposed to when this movie's decided to go to theater. So I don't really know what they were thinking with this movie, but I enjoyed it, and I also liked that it did connect itself to the older House Party movies. They actually reference Kid and Play, and they don't really, just negate those. There's clear love here. It just doesn't show enough in the actual laugh and entertainment value of this movie, unfortunately. Shows a little bit in the filmmaking and a couple of the jokes, but for the most part, this movie does not come together.